last episode I was just reversing out from the riverbank. Why? Well, sometimes that's the easiest way, especially when you've been there a while. Finally we're underway. It's a nice calm day, and as you can see there are boats on either side of this stretch of the river. On the left hand side we have some narrowboats and some wide beam narrowboats. These are permanent moorings, and the boats here all have their own little stretch of garden. On the right hand side you can see there are some narrowboats, and these are ones which have just come for a week or 2 weeks, and perhaps like me some of them have been stuck here for quite a while, what with the floods and then the pandemic. Well, up ahead's the first obstacle. It's a swing bridge, so let's go and do that now. I'll just pull the boat up to the landing stage and tie it with the centre line. I've walked up to the bridge, inserted my special key, and I've operated the controls. It just involves pressing a button. That way the barrier's lower and the alarm goes off, and then the bridge starts to rotate out of the way. I always try and do this when there aren't people or cars around. At least that's the idea. There'll soon be a queue of people waiting. It's not the fastest of mechanisms, as you can see. Well, I've walked back to the boat, started the engine, and now I'm just cruising through the open bridge. But who's that ahead? That's a familiar looking sight. And no, I'm not talking about the ducks, I recognise that boat. There we are, I'm moored on the landing stage now, just attached with the centre line because hopefully I'll only be a few moments while I do the bridge. Ah yes, I thought as much, it's Aussie the fuel boat. To close the gate, all I do is press the button that says close. It's not very fast and you have to keep the button held down, but as you can see there's already a small queue of people waiting to get across. I'll just walk up to the bow of the boat and give it a little nudge out. There we go, that's got it turning nicely. Well, it's hardly any distance at all to the lock, so no sooner have I set off than I'll be pulling in again. There's a landing stage just up here to the left. I've tied the boat to the landing stage using the centre line, and now I'm about to operate the lock. Well, this will be my first lock for quite a while. Let's hope I've not forgotten how to do it, but I've got my trusty windlass, so let's see what happens. Sorry about the shaky footage, but I was trying to hold the camera and do the windlass with one hand, and this is quite a stiff mechanism. You can see the water filling quite rapidly at first. Just doing the other paddle now. If you don't do both paddles, trying to get the last bit of water to fill takes absolutely forever. As you can see, I've only opened one lock gate. This is common practice amongst boaters. Really, you should open the pair of gates even if you are only a narrow boat. Occasionally, boats will clatter into the gate they've left closed and cause some damage. So I'm being very careful, and I've checked that the gate I have opened does open to its full extent. There's no plastic bottles or sticks lodged between it and the lock wall to keep the gate from opening properly. I've also taken care not to go too quickly and to line the boat up very carefully so I can just slide in through the one open gate and not have any problems. Manoeuvring nice and slowly also has the advantage that when it comes to bringing the boat to a stop, well, I won't have to work too hard. I won't have to use a lot of reverse thrust, which can cause the boat to move about in the lock, and I won't need to pull too hard on the ropes either. It just makes things a little bit easier. Here we are, the boat's comfortably in the lock now, and all I need to do is just close the gate behind me. I walk across the gates on the platform provided to go and open the paddle that's furthest away from me. And then I come back and open the other paddle. If you notice, I've only done the paddles to halfway. When I'm on my own, that's how I like to do it. It's good practice. I get a little while to see how the boat's settling down, to make sure it's not going back and getting stuck on the sill, which can happen, and just to make sure that everything's okay, nothing's caught up. And then once I'm happy, once the water's dropped below the level of the sill, I can go ahead and open the paddles up the rest of the way. Remember, if you do have a problem when you're locking, the best thing to do is always just turn off the flow of water. Always drop whatever paddles you've opened, and whatever's going wrong should stop. The boat naturally moves around in the lock while it's emptying. This isn't too much of a problem, providing it's doing it slowly and not banging around. Although typically it's ended up on the side that I didn't want to be on, so I'll have to pull it back over in a moment using the centre line. There we are, I'll just pull the boat back over and then I'll be all lined up on the gate that I've just opened. I wanted to go out that side, it's more convenient for me, the lock ladder's in a good place so I can climb back down onto the boat easily, and I've a little trick up my sleeve. There's been a spectator watching me who's enjoyed the whole procedure. Surprisingly, they've stayed to the end, most people don't, and I've asked them to close the gate behind me. There's the landing stage just to my left, which I don't need today. Also to my left, there's a little tributary river joining us, and there's one on the right that you can't quite see from the camera. Now, when the river was in flood a little while ago, going down here would have been very, very treacherous. You can see a little bit of current there, but that is nothing compared to what it was like back in January, believe me. What a beautiful old bridge. And in fact, we're just travelling right underneath Newbury town centre now. At the next bridge, one keeps to the right as usual, but just in case you're not sure, it is signposted. This is a lovely spot to moor. There's a park on the left and you're very handy for the town. that's the town centre negotiated. Another bridge or two and we reach the boatyard. Well, I'm just going to speed this little sequence up a bit. As you can see, we pass under a road bridge and the boatyard's immediately ahead of us. At this time of year the water's quite calm, but in the winter when there's flooding, well, you would have to be careful of any current. There's a real assortment of boats here. I don't think a lot of them ever move. I mean, look at the size of that one in front. It wouldn't clear the bridges for a start. Oh, perfect. A nice bit of Arnco to moor against. That means I can get the chains out and that'll be lovely and easy for me. I think that'll do for today. But there's plenty of cruising still to come, so join me next time. This boater's about to get himself some beers and some pizza.